Okay folks, it's just 11:30, so we'll go ahead and make a start. My name is Allison Kavanagh and I'm the College Librarian in DIT's Ainger Street Library, and I'm chairing this session. So this session will be 3 10-minute sessions, and we'll hold over the questions in relation to each presentation until the end, please. So all of the questions will have 10 minutes at the end for questions, though actually we have a little bit of flexibility at the end in terms of time because we're paralleling with another session that is longer. Our first speaker today is Monica Crump. Monica comes from NUI Galway. She's the head of collections, and in this role she has responsibility for collection development and management for ensuring seamless discoverability and accessibility of library collections in all formats. In previous posts in NUIG, Monica has been head of information, access and learning services, head of bibliographic services and collection management librarian, and prior to that she has had various library and non-related library posts, including researcher on EU-funded projects, web editor and project manager for a software development company. So Monica is going to talk to us about embedding a reading list management system in an Irish university. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison. I keep meaning to shorten that biography, it takes far too long. In fact, I should start by saying that I'm not really going to talk too much about the reading list system. I spoke about that last year and I don't suppose people want to hear about it again. And the theme of the conference was collaboration. And really, the success of embedding a reading list system is 100% reliant on successful collaboration. So that's really what I'm going to be focusing on. If you want to know about the reading list system itself, come and talk to me afterwards. Okay. So a reading list system is a bridge. It's a bridge between people, it's a bridge between library staff, between academic staff and between students, and it sits between all three of those stakeholder groups. It's for the academic staff, it provides them with a single place where they can put the required readings. They don't have to remember which version they're currently working on. They put their version in and the students see it, the library sees it, everybody's seeing that same authoritative source. They can change their reading list throughout the semester, and both the library and the student all see that current version as it changes and get alerts of changes and so on. They can very easily give guidance to their students, not just on what they have to read, but why they should read it and when they should read it as well. So it's a lovely bridge between the student and the academic staff. And it gives the academics reports of student engagement with their list. And this is one of the things I love the most about it, and is a great sell to academics who might not look too enthusiastic until you tell them this bit. They stick their reading list up on Blackboard in the old way or hand out a paper. They never know how many students actually even read it or read any of the books. With the reading list system, they can actually track engagement, how many views, how many clicks, how many people went through to resources. And that's a great, again, bridge that maybe the students would prefer wasn't there, but between the student and the academic staff. For the library, it's really easy for us to review lists, to know what academics are telling their students to read, which is something that we have struggled to know in the past, and I'm sure all the rest of you have as well. We get information on class size, which allows us to make decisions about how many copies we should have, loan status and so on. And it also provides a bridge to our book vendors, which I'll talk about again in a minute. And for the students, right within Blackboard, they have access to their reading lists. Included in there, without them having to do anything or learn any information literacy, they can see what availability there is in the library, how many copies are there on the shelf right now today. They get direct links to their online content. They get guidance if the academic has provided it on what they should read, when and why. So again, a really good communication tool for the student. We heard about library anxiety. This gets rid of all of that because it's all there within their comfort zone of Blackboard. It's also a bridge between systems. So the reading list system sits and integrates with Blackboard, with book vendor systems, with module management or curriculum management software, and with library systems. So there's an awful lot of interconnections there. The module management system, we import information on live modules, who's the module owner and so on from the module management system. The library system integration is absolutely key. We can get live information, live availability information right into the list within Blackboard for the students. We also get direct links to e-content pre-configured for off-campus access. And what is lovely for library staff is that it gives us alerts, and it actually automatically checks our holdings and alerts to us books where we don't have enough copies according to our own formula. So the really great integration between the two systems. There's a tool then that integrates the reading list system into Blackboard. So again, the students don't have to learn a new system. We don't point students to the reading list system. They just go to Blackboard and they find their list. So lovely integration there. And again, for library staff, one of my favourite is that the book vendor systems are integrated in two different ways. One, in that the system pulls in information from book vendors on alternative editions. So when we're reviewing lists, we can very easily see that this second edition the academic has recommended, there's actually now a 7th edition and we need to be upgrading the editions. But it also pushes information back to the vendor system. So ordering books from reading lists is now a matter of a click rather than the whole process and palaver we would have gone through before. So that's really, really fantastic. So all wonderful, lots and lots of bridges. But every single one of those bridges requires collaboration. And this lovely picture of what you might think is a bridge is actually a pier in Bangor in Wales. And it doesn't reach the other side. And it's the prettiest pier I've ever been on. It's really, really beautiful, but it doesn't reach the other side. And the point I suppose I'm trying to make with this is that unless you have the collaboration at both ends and you're meeting in the middle, it can be an absolutely beautiful reading list system with pretty graphics and designs and library staff really committed to it, but if the academics and the other system collaborations aren't happening, it's actually quite useless. So the first crowd that you need to collaborate with, I suppose, are the academic staff, and this is the most important. Again, a beautiful reading list system without academics putting their reading lists into it is completely useless. So my strategy was to start with Persuasion. This is my niece having a tea party. I have all boys in my house, so I'm very excited having a niece who has tea parties with me. So I use this picture to demonstrate that there were lots and lots of chats over cups of tea, lots of friendly persuasion, and I think I'm quite a persuasive person and people like me and we get on great. Lots of why they should use it, why it was so great. But the question underlying all those conversations, very few said it verbally, but it was always there, is what's in it for me? And what I was selling the system on was the engagement of the students. This is a great student experience. This is really so fantastic for the students. And it took me quite a while to realise that the academics actually don't all care that much about the students and really want to know, but there's work involved for me. Yeah, no thank you. So that was really interesting to discover. So now I'm... So I actually ended up calling in some favours and calling on academics to be early adopters and testers, I suppose, of the system, who I knew I had goodwill with, who I knew felt that I had done them favours before. That sounds dodgy, but I'd just done whatever they needed to be done. They really trusted the library service. They valued the library service. They had engaged with the old reading list service, which is via email, that we had really well. So I felt that they would return the favour, if you like, and use the system, which they did. That was handy. Lots of positive reactions. Everybody I spoke to loved what I was saying. Oh, it made sense, great, fantastic, but not so much action afterwards. So I will come in a minute to all the conversations we've had, but not that many have actively followed up from those conversations with proactively using the system. So the other version of collaborating with academic staff is to use a bit of coercion. And this is the go on, go on, go on, you will have a cup of tea, you will use my system. So one thing I've discovered and realised over the last while is that my faith and trust in academics was sometimes slightly misfounded. So we'd have wonderful demonstrations, they'd be so enthusiastic, they'd really go, oh my God, this is amazing, this is great. And then I'd leave them off. I'd have them, they'd shown how to do, off you go. And then realise a while later that they'd never logged in again after that day, or maybe once, and that was all. And what we've really learned from that, and we'll be bringing into our advocacy in the coming year, is that after every meeting with an academic, we're going to follow up a week or two later with a phone call. See, you haven't logged in, any problem? Or how are you finding it? Any guidance we can give you? Not because they necessarily didn't want to use the system. We had a focus group with some of our early adopters recently, those who have both used and not used the system, and they all said, it's great, we still believe in it, I just never quite got round to it, and then when I did, I'd kind of forgotten what you told me. So I think we need to be following up with conversations. Not quite coercive. The other real coercive, I suppose, is linking reading lists to reading the submission to budget and ordering priorities. And we have been doing this. I mean, my acquisitions team absolutely know that if an order comes via a reading list, that is the top priority and is very urgent and needs to be done first. And that's been happening. But we haven't been public about that. It's internal workflows, I guess. And I'm thinking now really we need to be more public about that and be saying, if you want your book quickly, you need to send it in via reading list. And budget, a little bit afraid to go there, but I think we probably maybe need to say this portion of the budget is kept for what comes through reading lists. And that will definitely incentivise them, I suspect. The other final coercion is that we'll only purchase multiple copies if it's submitted through a reading list. Now, we have this policy agreed a year now that for book requests from academics, that if they order more than one copy, we should be going back to them saying, well, we've ordered one, but if you want more, you have to submit your reading list. But we haven't actually communicated it to them yet, so we haven't implemented it yet. So this is work for the coming year to communicate that to them. This is very countercultural. The library always says, yes, no problem, and I know acquisition staff are going to hate it because they don't like saying no to academics. But I think that's the only way we're going to get engagement with the reading list, is saying if it's not for a reading list, then we get one copy. It's a research monograph. If you want more than one copy, it must be a reading list. Here's our reading list system. So a bit of coercion. The next bridge, I mentioned the Blackboard and the VLE. So this involves partnership with the Learning Technologists, and we got really great buy-in from our Centre for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. In fact, when reading list vendors approached us first, it wasn't just the library they went to, it was the Centre for Excellence in Teaching and Learning as well. And really what I learned from our vendor was that for success with reading list implementation, it needs to be seen as a university system, not a library system. Like I said, the academics need to be in there using it all the time. It's very different to systems that we implement ourselves and we have full control over it. We really don't have full control over it, so it's very much a university system, and Celt really got that. However, when we were implementing, they were in the middle of a major project, really huge and stressful project for them, which of course I didn't know. So I rock up and I have a cup of coffee. Yeah, we're doing this, and I just need you to implement this tool. And they would, we're in the middle of a big project. Ooh, red light. Anyway, they were very good and they made time. They promised us, we had to work to their timelines. They promised that they would get it live by the first day of semester, which they did on the first day of semester, but bless them, they got it there in time. So that was really great. And not only that, they then invited us back to their Blackboard fair and have invited us back again next year to be demonstrating. So they see that as a real partnership as well, which is great. Academic records, not so good. Should I just stop? I'll fly through it. Our module management system I mentioned, there was a major project at university level to implement a module management system. It had suffered massive delays and has and continues. It's been a nightmare for the people involved in it, an absolute headache. So when I rock up saying, hey, I've got a system, I need to integrate with your system, they did not want to know. They still don't want to know because they're still in the throes of it. They didn't need the headache of another system. So we just took the plunge, and one of my colleagues, who's probably here somewhere, liaised with the vendor, the end vendor of their system, and got us a feed from their system without anyone in NUI Galway having to do any work that they really didn't want to do. Not ideal, and if I was doing it again, I'd be talking to them before we ever started and have them on the project board so that they had to cooperate with us. I'll skip over this bit. All of this will be in the slides. This is just about what we did in the first year. Lots and lots of learning, and a pilot scheme with early adopters that gave us the ability to go slowly and learn as we were going, which wouldn't be in my nature, but it was really, really useful to do it because every academic asked a different question that I didn't know the answer to. So it was great to do it slowly and learn. Some academics very, very active, others not so much. I'll just give you an explanation. When you're looking at the slides, if you look at each of these are modules on the right-hand side. The top module there is only 20 students, but despite being a small class, there were 498 views in one semester, 332 click-throughs to resources, 16 annotations where the students made notes to themselves of whether they were going to read it or not. So really good engagement in the modules where the academics made it available to students. Next steps, keep building bridges. We're going to have a formal launch and a marketing campaign. I now have a team to support me in the advocacy, so they will be going out doing major advocacy and building lots of bridges, because unfortunately the only way it can be a success is building bridge after bridge after bridge after bridge. We hope the students will help us though. As they start to have this in some modules, I believe that they'll start demanding it from their lecturers in other modules. Thank you. Sorry for the rush.
Don't worry, we will have time for the